Right, hey guys, welcome back. So I'm just going to go through what we went through in last week's tutorial, which is to get the model from ZBrush, decimate it so it's manageable inside Maya, and we can use it without any lag, but also retain enough detail that we can actually retopologize over the top of it and know what we're retopologizing. So I'm in ZBrush right now, and what I've done is I've just duplicated the sculpture. So this is the one that I've been working on, and I've just made a copy of that and called it sculpture underscore decimated. Now you can just highlight your sculpture and press duplicate down here, and you can make a copy. So just let this auto save. So to decimate it, we're just going to go to Z plugins in the menu bar, and I'll just close that. This is the one that we're looking for, decimation master. Now I'm just going to grab the menu and pop that over to the right. And what we're going to do, we're going to decimate this first, and this will create a low sort of poly of our model. Now we have to have the model highlighted and then press pre-process current. So we're just going to do this to the main body first, and if we need to bring anything else over, we'll just do them separately. Now this can take a bit of time, so just keep that in mind. Just going to make sure that my model is at the highest subdiv level. Not that I think it matters, but I'll just make sure that I'm at the highest subdiv level, because that's what I want to decimate. Okay, so I'm looking at 61 million, so it's quite a lot. Now I'm going to press pre-process current, and this is probably going to take me about 10-20 minutes. So I'm going to pause the video after I press this button, and then I'll see you guys when that's done. All right, so we're back. So that took about 10-15 minutes. Let's see where we're at. So we've done the pre-process. Let's just take a look at the mesh now. Nothing should have changed. It's still sort of doing its thing. I think it's just doing a last minute sort of changes. Now, while that's thinking, what we're going to be doing is taking a look at a couple of these presets. So probably around a 35K should work pretty well for this model. You want to go as low as possible. So you want to take it as low as you can whilst retaining as much detail as possible. And this will give you a solid reference model to do your retopo over the top of. So you don't want to go too low where all the detail is gone. You still want to retain a little bit there, but you don't want it too high where it'll start lagging inside Maya. You want to make sure that it's speedy, it's quick, and there's going to be no issues. Now this is taking its time. So what I'm going to do, I think okay. Looks like it might be done. I was going to pause the video again, but you can skip ahead because I think it might be either going to be in the next 5 seconds or a couple of minutes. Anyways, whilst this is thinking, in class, I was talking about creating polygroups for the mouth sack. Now, I was doing a bit of research with how that works inside Maya, and looks like there's a bug inside Maya or ZBrush. Don't know who's at fault here. I'm pretty sure it's Maya, but it's probably not going to work. So what we're going to do is do something a little bit different, where we create some selection sets inside ZBrush to allow that to work. So it's going to be more or less the same. It's just the export is going to be slightly different. So this is done now. I'm just going to jump to 35K. Now I know that's going to be good, so I'm just going to press that. And that's a lot of detail there. So more or less you can see all the details that we sculpted into this mesh, all the secondary details. Tertiary details here isn't so important. So on 20K, it'll probably be fine, to be honest, and that will work pretty well. But I think coming into these areas here, where it's a little bit tighter, I think I do want a little bit more detail, a little bit of a softer edge on the surface to work with. So 35K, I think, would be most suitable. 75 looks more or less the same as 35, just with with double the poly count, over double the poly count. So I think I'll stick to 35. Now, if you have a mouse sack on your creature, so I'll just hide half of this. You can see that I have a mouse sack. What you want to do is you want to create a polygroup selection for just the mouse sack area. Now, this is going to take a bit of back and forth working with this. And what we're trying to do is just isolate just the top part of the mouth from the bottom part of the mouth. And if you wanted to make the process a little bit easier inside Maya as well, you can create selection sets, or you can create polygroups, I should say, for the limbs. This will allow you to just hide the limbs quicker when they sort of get in the way. And that's what we're going to do here, because we need to be able to get inside the mouse sack to be able to retopologize that. Now, all I'm going to do here is just hold down Control Shift and just isolate just that portion. And I've got too little, so I'm going to press Control Z. Just try that again. Just grab everything. Make sure you grab the whole mouse sack. Now, what I'm going to do is hold down Control Shift again and change it from a rectangle marquee selection to a lasso. And what I'm going to do is just hide parts that I don't need. So pretty much all of this for now. So I actually needed that part. So I'm going to Control Z. Just be a bit more careful with that. And let's turn symmetry on. So that's X on the keyboard. And what I want to do is just grab half of this jaw. So all of this part on the top, we don't need. You can be pretty, you don't have to be so careful with this. We just need to get rid of that top half. So when we go inside Maya and we're working on this part, we can easily hide that so we can get in there. Now it can get a little bit tricky, and the trick with this is just to hide bit by bit. So I'm holding down Control, Shift and Alt to remove parts. So I might press Shift F to bring up the wireframes to make it a little bit easier to see the background. And as you start removing parts, more parts sort of reveal itself. And you can sort of better pick different angles to sort of get in there and just get rid of half of this. So let's get rid of that. And now we've got this new sort of angle that we can work with. And let's do something like this. Let's see. Let's get rid of this. And this. Let's get some of these bigger chunks out of the way. Okay. Almost there. So get rid of these down here. one little lone polygon here to get rid of. Okay, so that's pretty much done. We just got a couple little bits floating around. So I'll get rid of this part that's in the way. And it will just be this guy here. Okay, so just as a note, I have double-sided turned on as well. So if you're seeing only one side of the mesh and it gets pretty hard to see what you're doing, just scroll all the way down in the toolbar, find display properties, and you want to turn double on, which is double-sided. So this should be pretty fine for us to work with. Again, we only need half the jaw, so we can actually get inside and retopologize this area if we're going to be doing it manually. Now that we have that all separated, it's just a matter of giving this a polygroup. Now I'm just going to press Ctrl W, and it will just give a polygroup to whatever is visible. Now if I press Ctrl Shift and click, get out of this sort of hiding mode, you can see that the jaw now has this polygroup assigned to it. Again, it wouldn't be such a bad idea to grab the arm or anything that's going to be in the way and give that a polygroup as well. So that color is too close to the other one, so I'm just going to give it another color. And the legs are going to be fine because we're going to be working on the legs. It's not going to get in the way of anything. It's more just the arms that sort of get in the way of the body, and especially when you come under here towards the armpits, it gets a bit difficult to work with. And there's probably quite a bit more that we can get rid of. So I'm going to press Ctrl Shift and just click on a piece. Let's just say here, and we're trying to get the polygon face, not the edge. That's how that works. And if I could press Ctrl Shift and drag a little box, I can invert that, and I'll just grab these guys here as well. May as well whilst I'm here, because I need to be able to get in there. So I'm going to press Ctrl Shift Alt and just sort of get rid of as much as I can, because it'll make life easier for us. As we sort of get into this area here. Okay, so let's invert that, see what we have. And I'm going to Control Z. And what I'm going to do is just grab all of this like that, invert it. So Control Shift, drag a little section, and then work with this. So now I can get rid of this stuff a bit easier. Sometimes you just got to go back and forth inside ZBrush to be able to select things. Okay, so we got that part. Now it's just this little part here. And I'll get rid of this part like that. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I'm going to press Ctrl W to give that a polygroup. And that should be more or less good to go. So previously what we did was we went up to the Tools panel and just press Export. We're not going to do that today because importing an OBJ with polygroups inside Maya just doesn't seem to want to work. So this is what we should be getting. So this is inside 3ds Max. And each of these groups are the polygroups. And they'll come in as separate surfaces, so we can just easily hide and make some bits visible, make some bits invisible. But in Maya, it just doesn't seem to want to work. Just done a bit of research, and it seems like it's a long existing bug that just hasn't been fixed. So we're going to do things a little bit differently. Go back to ZBrush. Now we're going to export this out as, so let's go back to Z plugins, and I have it up here on the right. So we're going to use the FBX exporter, importer, and we're just going to export selected. Now what we're going to do differently here is down in the options is we're going to turn this on. So export polygroups as SS set, so selection sets. Right, and that's really all we have to do. So let's press export, and you're going to see my very messy desktop. And I'm going to call this V2. Now let's jump over to Maya. So I'm going to go File, New Scene. So we'll start from a default scene. And let's see. Where am I? Okay. So I should have my grid up, but that's okay. Don't need the grid right now. Let's just go into File, Import, and then we just want to import that document, that model. So this one here was the one I had, so I'm just going to press Import, and here's our model. So ready for retopology. Now the selection sets that we made are over here. So we can right click and select members, and it should allow us to select our polygroups essentially. So you might want to rename these so it sort of makes a bit more sense. And let's see, what did I get? There seems to be some extra things that sort of come in that don't really, we didn't make earlier. Maybe we did. Maybe we weren't careful enough. So looks like we did. So a couple little extra ones, so just be a bit careful with that. It doesn't matter if it's there. It's not going to affect it anyways. So that's the jaw, so you can rename that. And this one here will be the arms. So basically when you're coming up to the jaw and you're working on the top jaw, you can come into here and you can select it. And then in displays, you can hide selection. The hotkey for that is Control H. So we can hide that, and then we can just work on this underneath part. Right? And then when you're working on the bottom jaw, just do the opposite, where we select the main body. Then you can just go to display, hide selection. And then you can just work on the inside of the mouth. Now I'm going to link a series of tutorials by the Flip Normal guys, and they do a really good series on retopology inside Maya. But just to get you started, all we need to do is just select what we want to retopologize. So it will be this guy here. And then we need to convert that into a live surface. So you can press this little magnet button, and now it's a live surface. So over here in our modeling toolkit, there's a button called Quad Draw. Now, if your model is symmetrical, then you want to turn symmetry on. So you can just go up here into the toolbar, turn Object X. So we can come into here now and just click on these on the surface. And these vertices that we're clicking, or that we're making, are sticking to the surface. Right, we can come down here and play around with how far they sort of sit onto the surface itself. Now, it's quite simple inside Maya to retopologize. if we scroll down in this menu here, right at the bottom, there's this drop down menu. Open that up and it's all the hotkeys. There's really not that much here to remember, but if we just click on the mesh, it creates a vertex. Now, if we create at least 4 or 3, I should say, and hold down shift, we can create a polygon group, a polygon like that. And that's basically retopology. So we're sort of reverse modeling at this point. Now you can grab each individual points like this and move them around. You can see that there's different sort of things. We can change the alpha. So I made it all clear, but I think it comes in like this as default. And then we can also move the whole polygon around like that, and the edge as well. There's a few other things here that's quite handy. If we create a series of these, so let's just create a couple more. So I'm holding down shift to create the surface here. And we need to sort of relax this part because it's looking a little bit messy. Just hold down shift and you can relax these polygons. If we hold down control, we can add edge loops, and control shift will allow you to delete polygons. And if I hold down tab and left click on an edge, I can extrude edges out like this. And using the middle click whilst holding down tab will allow me to extrude a whole edge like that. Okay. If I just hold tab in the open space, I can create this floating sort of polygon. And I can use the middle mouse drag to make that bigger. And what this allows me to do is to draw out strips like this. And then I can just start connecting these together like that. Okay, so kind of like a reverse modeling. This can take a bit of time, so just give yourself some time to get this right. Now there's no industry standard when it comes to topology, but there are some right and wrong things to do. Right, so I think the video that I'm going to link goes through it really well, at least all the basics anyways. So make sure you take a look at that. Definitely look at some references as you're doing this, topology references. I forgot to mention as well, if we drag two vertices or edges close together, they snap. So that's not snapping for me, so I've got to have auto world turned on. You can see we can snap these edges together. By default, that should be turned on. I might have turned it off for some reason. Great. So if the models come in and it's a bit sort of bright and it's hard to see, just change the color. Just give it a new material. So I think you can just right click and go down to assign new materials. And we're going to go through how to work with the hypershape, but just for now, you can just come into here and just add a Maya blend or Fong. Blend will work better, I think. I'll take that back. So let's go and add a Fong. Okay, so it's come in all black, so we might need to go into Windows, the rendering editor, and hypershape. This is where we're going to do most of our work. But let's just let's just manually put this in. Let's highlight our model, right click the blend node, and go to assign material to selection. It should give us a nice sort of gray. That's a bit too bright. All you need to do is just bring down the color a little bit so you can see a little bit more of the details. If it's a bit too shiny, what we can do is just bring down, let's say the reflectivity. Let's make that a bit more matte looking. And the specular color, let's just bring that down a bit as well. Okay, so now if we go back to our surface, our poly surface here, so we can get out of quad draw, all we need to do is to go back into is make sure our live surface is turned on and click our poly surface in the outliner and then go back to quad draw. That's it. Take a look at that video up on Canvas, and I'll see you guys in the next one.